My boss doesn't like me. Which is fair enough. Honestly, when I get tough, even I find myself intimidating. My boss prefers the kind of sweet, simpering female secretaries who know how to bat their eyelashes and act coy. But aside from being biologically female, my 178 centimeters height and 65 kilograms frame pretty much rule out any possibility of me pulling off the coy act. When other women act cute, it costs people money. If I tried to act cute, it might cost someone their life. I've been my boss's personal secretary for 3 years. I'm dedicated and highly professional. Basically, the moment he starts shifting his weight, I know exactly what kind of shit he's about to lay. And how much. Sorry, that metaphor got a bit too graphic. Puts people off their appetites. In my 3 years on the job, there's never been a single rumor linking me romantically to the boss. I've helped foster his sterling reputation as a man of impeccable restraint, immune to temptation. Most people meeting me for the first time assume I'm his personal bodyguard. I always patiently correct them. Personal secretary assistant. That day I felt a pressing sense of crisis. That tarty bitch who walked out of the boss's office ... She looked freshly ... dude. And the look she gave me was pure rubbish bin material. I had a feeling the boss was about to sack me. After all, I wasn't exactly equipped to provide any due. Even if I were willing, I doubt he could stomach the idea. Yes. My premonition was correct. I got the sack. The boss's secretary position was finally filled by that living up to the name tarty bitch. I was a bit upset, because jobs aren't easy to come by these days. I'm big-boned, I eat a lot, my expenses are high, and I've no savings. Without a job, I'd soon eat myself into poverty. That day, after an interview at XX bodyguard company, I was eating spicy hot pot at a street corner and found a man. He seemed to have been drugged. He was so out of it, he even fancied having a go at someone like me. Desperate times. A real animal. But even animals are still, well, animals. He was no match for this human. He started clinging to me like some mythical seductress. A bit annoying, really. I dislocated his arm. Flipped him over for a look. Blimey. This beast was actually quite handsome. The scoundrel. I was worried he was too good-looking. Leaving him here, he might get taken advantage of. So I hauled him back to my place. The next day he woke up and asked me, "Who are you?" I said, "You passed out at the street corner yesterday. I saved you." He asked, "What happened to my arm?" Feeling a bit guilty, I said, "Some blokes were after your good looks, wanted to have their way with you. Your arm got injured in the struggle. I'm actually quite thick. My old boss always used to yell at me for it. But ... he actually bought the lie I told. Just how conceited is this beast?" He asked, "You fought them all off by yourself and carried me back." I corrected him. "Not carried. You're not heavy. I dragged you back." He was silent for a moment. "Take me home. Then you can come work for me as my bodyguard. Virtue is its own reward." I had a job again. On my first day following him to work, I discovered this beast was different from my ex-boss. He was the real deal, a proper, bona fide, overbearing CEO. "Can you drive?" "Used to. Can't really say for sure now," I said, eyeing his extravagantly luxurious silver supercar. "Then go learn. From now on, you'll be my driver and my personal bodyguard." The CEO coolly and dashingly tossed the car keys to me. I thought, this boss is no good just giving orders without discussing salary. Is he trying to get free labor? Boss, we haven't discussed remuneration yet. Basic salary? Performance bonuses? Pension and insurance contributions? What's the ratio? The CEO, hands in pockets. "Name your figure." I held up one finger. "You're so rich, a £10,000 basic salary isn't unreasonable, right? Bodyguard work is high risk. Getting insurance isn't unreasonable, right?" The CEO raised an eyebrow. "I'll add a 0 to that. Stop dithering. I need you for something in a couple of days." I gasped sharply. "What's your surname, boss? What's your preferred coffee, boss? Where do you live, boss? What time should I pick you up each day? I'm on call 24/7, you know." 2 days after learning to drive the supercar, I got a call from the boss, summoning me to a well-known members club. Before setting off, I reviewed the material I'd crammed over the past 2 days. The boss's name is Kyan Yuan. the only son and heir of the Kian Group, a multinational Fortune 500 company. Literally someone with a throne waiting for him to inherit back home. Me, Su Shengnan. Standard undergraduate degree. Still couldn't afford a flat since graduating uni. A northern drifter in the capital for 5 or 6 years. I pondered this. Our paths were never supposed to cross. What virtue or ability did I possess to meet such a crown prince-like figure? Tisk. This development is definitely a contemporary Su trope if ever I saw one. It must be my refreshingly unpretentious, kind-hearted and unsophisticated nature that successfully attracted his attention. He wants to get with me. As the saying goes, a suit is a man's weapon, a dress is a woman's battle armor. I donned my battle armor and courageously went to the rendezvous. When Boss Kian saw me, it was like he'd seen a ghost. His eyebrows were knitted like an old lady's foot-binding cloth. His mouth twisted like he'd had a severe stroke. He said, "Where's your professional integrity? Shouldn't a bodyguard wear a uniform for work?" I scratched my head. Did the boss have a thing for uniforms? The boss, slightly agitated, ran a hand through his gorgeous hair, revealing delicate earlobes. I wasn't mesmerized by his face, but I thought, his ears are really quite refined. He has the kind of delicate earlobes you usually only see on dainty women. Never mind. The boss pointed towards a banquet. See that woman in the red dress? Seen her. Although I didn't know what had upset him, I was eager to make amends. You're a woman. Go over there and give her a beating. I'll take responsibility. Aye. The boss elegantly took out a cigarette, holding it between his slender, pale fingers. If not a beating, then fine. But I want to see her lose all dignity and scuttle home with her tail between her legs. I understood. I wasn't here to be a bodyguard. I was here to be a hired thug. Armed with the boss's formidable task, I strode towards the woman in the red dress, who was effortlessly socializing and clinking glasses amidst a group of men. Should I hit her or not? There are so many men around her. If a fight breaks out, how will it end? I kept looking back at the boss every few steps. He was lurking in the shadows of the neon lights, staring intently at me. Crikey. First official day on the job and I've landed a massive task. If I mess this up, this heaven-sent plum job will be gone. Gritting my teeth, I approached, pulled aside a man clinging closely to the woman, and stood right in front of her. Who the hell are you? Nutcase? The men slurred, their breath reeking of alcohol. I grabbed the woman's smooth, slender wrist, yanked her over, locked her in a headlock, and pushed her head down all in one fluid motion. Before anyone could react, I had successfully shoved her beautiful face into an ice bucket full of cubes. The woman struggled and shrieked. I quickly leaned close to her ear and said, "The boss asked me to pass on a message. If you want to stay alive, get out of Z City. This is his final act of mercy." She froze momentarily, then started trembling violently, unable to utter a word. A man lunged at me. I dealt with him using one foot. 2 more charged. This time, I used their momentum, sat back and took care of them with both feet. Once the girl's face was adequately chilled, I hauled her up for a closer look. Her makeup was mostly ruined, and she was thoroughly frozen. That should do it. Must show some mercy to the ladies. After half a month in my new role, I finally understood. I really was here to be a bodyguard. My daily task was to don a black suit and dark sunglasses, protecting the gorgeous, pampered young Master Kian from being devoured alive by hordes of women. Whenever I saw him being cornered and pursued by women, I'd shake my head and tut. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like a pack of half-starved dogs encountering a steaming, fragrant pile of, well, you know. They were practically baring their teeth and fighting over it. I heard the reason the boss ended up with me was that the last woman had the audacity to drug him at a business dinner. So here I am, sitting in the car, watching the upmarket cafe next door. Whenever the boss has business meetings with women, I have to be extra vigilant. A long time later, the two emerged. I promptly parked the car closer. The female PR exec was utterly sloshed, leaning all over the boss, rubbing and grinding against him as she did. The boss wore a constipated expression on his handsome face, deftly evading her advances. I pretended not to see, got out of the car, and adeptly peeled the woman, who was taking full advantage, off the boss. The boss twitched his lips. Miss Jiang only had half a glass of red wine. Miss Jiang's acting skills exploded into action, her face flushed and radiant. She suddenly pushed me away and reached out to wrap her arms around the boss's neck. I muttered, "Take this," under my breath, rushed forward, and used a grappling technique to lock the woman's arm behind her back. The woman let out a seductive, soft cry of pain, looking pleadingly towards the boss. The boss looked relieved, frowned, and brushed off his sleeves. "Zhao Su, you see Miss Jiang home." I instantly understood the subtext. I stuffed the woman into the car and, under the boss's urging gaze, stepped on the accelerator and sped off with this jinx. Once in the car, the woman sobered up instantly, looking at me with deep resentment. "You are bodyguard and driver. Humph. Never seen such a bizarre method to get close to young Master Kian. You're more clever than me, sis." Stopped at a traffic light, I looked out the window. "Miss Jiang, this is a legitimate job for me. Annual salary, $1 million. Can you say the same?" I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Also, according to the info, your actual age is several years older than mine. If you're thinking of using this project to get close to young Master Kian, I suggest you give it a rest. If you genuinely want to pursue him, maybe clean up your own stable of backup options first. Don't you think that's reasonable?" At the next crossroads, the woman got out of the car in a huff. Sitting in the driver's seat of the luxury car, I shook my head. Such is the simple and unadorned nature of being a personal bodyguard for an overbearing CEO. The boss has a secondary WeChat account, intentionally leaked, specifically used to confuse gold-digging girls chasing fame and fortune, acting as a decoy for his main account. I manage this account. The record was approving 241 different kinds of beauties in a single day. These girls, each one more stunning than the last, would immediately start with voice notes, gorgeous photos, videos, a veritable barrage. At first, I was completely thrown. Later, I found a method. I'd add them to a group chat, let them each show their prowess, using the vast and profound internet to amuse me. Then I'd make an assessment spreadsheet, grade them one by one, conduct a KPI review at month's end, and rank them. Essentially, internal consumption. This method worked quite well, though it was rather draining on the boss's reputation. The rumor spread that young Master Kian was notoriously wild in their circles, maintaining a harem of 3,000 beauties, with them competing for favor monthly, and him flipping the placard to choose his knightly companion nightly. I don't know if the boss has heard, but since he hasn't mentioned it to me, it's probably fine. It's a society governed by law now. Public order is good. It's not like there are that many incidents of young masters from wealthy families being kidnapped and beaten up. But to prevent the boss from being defiled, to uphold his purity, and to thoroughly implement the spirit of being dedicated and loving one's job, I, Su Shengnan, the adorable and charming love guardian bodyguard, protect the boss day and night. However, the methods above are only for ordinary peripheral women and gold diggers. When it comes to women from powerful families, the little princess types, that's very thorny tricky. Every time I see the mayor's daughter and the heiress princess fluttering around the boss like social butterflies, my blood pressure spikes. Bloody hell, is this boss really so damn charming? Are there no other quality men in all of Z-City? Do all the female leads, supporting roles, and extras from 1 to N all have to fancy our Mary Sue male protagonist? This massively increases my workload and is very detrimental to carrying out my duties. I comfort myself. For a monthly salary of 10,000, I'd be willing to shed blood and sacrifice my life for the boss. Now, with an extra 0 added, even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or descend into a sea of flames, I'm willing. So, within less than 2 months, the boss tossed me into the frying pan. He told the cultured and gentle mayor's daughter that he liked strong, bold women. If she could defeat his female bodyguard in a fight, he'd go on a date with her. He told the lively and slender heiress princess that he liked women with good appetites who could eat a lot. If she could out-eat his female bodyguard, he'd go on a date with her. He told his female bodyguard, "Su Shengnan, I believe in you. You will definitely protect my safety and restore my peace and quiet." With tears in my eyes, looking at the salary that had just landed in my account, my heartfelt gratitude brought warm tears to my eyes. Rest assured, boss, mission guaranteed. The boss obtained temporary peace. I, for no good reason, found myself being hunted down by two formidable young women. One waved her slender arms and legs, wanting to spar with me. The other bounced around, challenging me to an eating contest. I found no peace day or night. Not daring to break the young lady's delicate arms, not daring to rupture the princess's stomach, and even less daring to let them have a chance to date my boss, whom everyone else treated like the starry moon. My residence and small social circle had long been turned upside down by these two frenzied girls. I even changed hotels twice, but they still managed to track me down and besiege me. I fled, they pursued, leaving me with no escape. Of the 36 stratagems, fleeing is best. I decided to take the boss's supercar and make a run for it. Before I'd even left the city limits, I got a call from the boss. Nannan, where are you? Boss, those two pursuers of yours are too fierce. They've ransacked my home. I'm lying low for a couple of days. Just asking for leave first. There was a long silence on the other end. Then suddenly a sticky, muddled, cat-like sound came through. That little trailing note ... sounded familiar. I've just been to your place. I've brought your cat over. Come back. I'll find a place to settle you for now. An hour later, I saw my little white moggy on the wall carpet of a detached villa in the suburbs. Duodwo. Tilda. Pilda. I rushed over, scooped up the cat, and went in for a storm of sniffing and stroking. When I finally looked up, my face covered in cat hair, from under the cat's belly, I saw the boss, wearing an apron and holding a spatula, peeking his head out from the kitchen doorway. What did you call it? Duodwo. I found it by the bins ages ago. I hugged the cat, rubbing it all over, before finally noticing something was off. Boss, what are you doing? The boss's highly raised eyebrows smoothed out. He cleared his throat lightly. It's remote here. No live-in servants. I was frying some chicken breast for the cat. He glanced at the spatula in his hand, probably thinking it looked inappropriate himself, and added, It kept mewling. Annoying. I clattered over. It's not a kitten anymore, why fry it? It can eat it raw. Boss, you didn't turn the stove off, did you? The chicken breast is burning ... Duodweft, you plenty of cat food. How did you still manage to get out? I scratched the cat under its chin, stroking its soft fur. Duodwo. Duodwo. My cat is so clever, it knows its name. Every time I call it, it always turns its head and meows back at me. I cuddled the cat, oblivious to anyone else, for half an hour. The boss looked at me strangely, no less than 10 times. I wondered what his problem was. If he wants to pet the cat, just come over and do it. Why stand on ceremony? It's not like I'd laugh at him. Nannan, can you change this cat's name? Change it to what? Why change it? Was this simple, unadorned name violating some taboo of the boss's? The boss said this was his private property, very secluded, and wouldn't be found for a while, so I should stay here temporarily. Of course, I was happy to live in a big villa, but looking left and right, the boss didn't seem to be planning on leaving. There was no cat litter, so I had to take Duodwo into the garden to do its business. It accidentally slipped into the bushes. I could hear it, but couldn't see it. I called out loudly, Duodwo. The cat didn't appear. The boss did. Kian Yon, wearing a set of dark green silk loungewear, stood on the steps with an impossibly aloof and disdainful air, looking displeased at me. I gave a perfunctory greeting and turned back to looking for the cat. Duodwo. TSK. Duodwo, come out. Let's go home and have some dried minnows. Boss Kian just stood there until I found the cat, then finally shifted his precious slippers. Don't disturb me. I need to rest here for a few days. That evening, the boss arbitrarily assigned me a guest room and went upstairs. I thought about it and followed him up. He turned. What are you doing? Such a big villa, just the two of us. He asked, puzzled. You're scared? No. I waved my hands. It's just this kind of situation. This kind of place ... It feels like it's just asking for a murder mystery. Conan, boss, have you seen Conan? Empty villas are the easiest places for people to die. I'm your bodyguard, and today is a work day. I think it's better if I stay close to protect your safety. You're cursing me. I really wasn't. If you die, who's going to pay me? Qian Yuan thought for a moment. Fine, come up then. I have work to do. You can stand guard outside. Oh, and it gets very cold here at night. You'd better dress warmly. He vaguely pointed at my flip-flops. In the cold night, the boss looked quite approachable, gentle and handsome. I'd call him a contemporary, conscientious capitalist. The boss's rest just meant working from a different location. He had endless emails to send and meetings to attend. Now I wasn't just a bodyguard and driver, but also a cook and housekeeper. Felt a bit nervous cooking for the boss for the first time. The boss looked at the dishes on the table, didn't touch his chopsticks, and asked, "What is this?" Foie gras fried with celery. The boss's hand trembled slightly. And this? Century egg and caviar porridge. Caviar? Porridge? The boss's expression became constipated. Are you trying to poison me? He seemed to lack the courage to ask about the remaining dishes. Order me some takeaway from Haesung Lu. After Duodwo and I had eaten our fill, taken a stroll to digest, the takeaway from Haesung Lu finally arrived at the suburban villa. The boss was probably starving and not happy. Delivering the food upstairs, I was on tenterhooks. He was drinking red wine. I put down the takeaway box and tried to make a quick exit. The boss said coldly, "Unpack it for me." You expect me to do it myself? A worker earning $1 million a year can be worked like an ox or a horse. I silently repeated this 3 times, turned back, unpacked the takeaway, and carefully laid it out for him. Then I heard a woman's urgent voice downstairs, seemingly calling for someone. My first reaction was, oh no, we hid in such a secluded spot, and someone still found us. Really, like flies to ... Well, you know, they can smell it from miles away. Eager to redeem myself and show loyalty, I said to the boss, "Boss, you sit there, eat in peace. I can handle this." By the time I charged into the main hall, I was dumbfounded. This beautiful woman, beautiful she was, but she looked to be at least in her 40s ... Had our boss's appeal broken age barriers and shot across the galaxy? Steady, steady. I cleared my throat, clasped my hands, planted my feet, and assumed a bodyguard stance. Auntie, this is a private residence. You can't just barge in. Wait, how did you get in? The well-maintained auntie looked me up and down, perplexed. I used to this, declared emphatically. I am young Master Qian's personal bodyguard. And assistant. The auntie said, "Oh, step aside. I need to speak with your boss." Auntie, our boss doesn't want to see you. I admit, your determination is admirable. I'm moved by your spirit. But you are a bit too old. Our boss prefers younger ladies. The auntie looked at me as if I were an idiot. She bypassed me and headed upstairs, calling out as she went, "Duodwo! Duodwo!" My cat came running in response, circling the auntie's legs, meowing and rubbing against them. Bah! What a disloyal creature. This auntie had clearly done her homework. Not only found this hidden villa, but even knew my cat's name. I rushed up the steps to block her, just as the boss emerged from his study, looking cool, arrogant, and domineering. The auntie looked at him and said, "Duodwo, what's the matter with your bodyguard?" I shuddered, quietly picked up my duodwo. Young Master Qian's cool mask turned into a pained one. His eyebrows rose and fell, and he finally said, "Mum, I have a name." The auntie seemed pleased by the term mum, laughing in a coy, slightly reproachful manner. "Duodwo, Mummy is sorry, don't be angry anymore. If you don't want to go on the blind dates, you don't have to. No need to run all the way out here." I glanced at the boss's face. It didn't look any better than 3-day-old liver. Bloody hell. I think I've learned something I shouldn't have. The boss's childhood name ... seems to be Duodwo. No wonder he kept turning around when I called the cat. Duodwo. Moneybags Duodwo. What a bloody brilliant name. Looking at the boss and his mother, I felt unemployment looming. After the boss's mother finished speaking with him, she passed by me downstairs. I quickly bowed and scraped, calling her Madam. Madam Qian looked me up and down again and started rummaging in her bag. In these situations, they're usually looking for a bank card or check, right? Planning to slap it in my face and tell me to leave her precious son. Madam Qian finally placed a card in my hand. Unfortunately, it wasn't a bank card. I was bitterly disappointed. Take my business card. We're both so busy, my son and I. We don't see much of each other. Since you work for Duardwo, please help look after him for me. Oh my god. In her previous life, did Madame Qian work with Dayu to control the floods? Or perhaps repair the Dujiangyan irrigation system? How can there be such a reasonable, perceptive, and open-minded rich lady? Come to think of it, in my impoverished former life, I'd never actually met a genuine bona fide rich lady. After the boss's mother left, the boss's expression finally relaxed a bit. He sat on the sofa by himself, sulking. I didn't know whether to leave or stay, so I stood beside the sofa, keeping a straight face, arms crossed, pretending to be a guardian of the grass. But that tactless cat of mine, with no sense of occasion, started clawing and scratching at the boss's velvet trouser legs incessantly. Ahem. I must be mad, thinking the cat would understand my hint. Ahem, ahem, ahem. I tried to focus my energy, using my gaze to intimidate this ungrateful offspring. The cat didn't get my meaning, but the boss certainly did. He said, "Can you change this cat's name?" "Yes, boss. I'll go and get the cat's registered name changed first thing tomorrow." The boss's break had just ended when Miss Liu, the mayor's daughter, and Princess He, the heiress, showed up again. Miss Liu had written a soppy poem for the boss. Hearing it, he frowned. Seeing the young lady on the verge of tears, I stood behind the boss and quickly started applauding. Marvelous poem. Truly heartfelt and profound. The boss shot me a warning glare and said to Miss Liu, "I have matters to attend to. You should head back early." Miss Liu, with her lamb-like face, lifted her dewy, limpid eyes, glistening with unshed tears, and gave me a pleading look. I admit, I was struck, but I didn't dare speak again. I'd get fired. After she left, I mustered the courage to ask the boss why he didn't like her. The boss gave an almost imperceptible sneer, his tone icy. "You seem quite fond of her, though." I hurriedly denied it and didn't dare ask further. No sooner had Miss Liu left than Princess. He started clamoring to come in for a chat. I half-dragged, half-pulled her out of the company. Princess He, being a rich heiress, wasn't used to such treatment, but her slender arms and legs were no match for me. All she could do was point a finger at my nose and snarl, trying to sound fierce, but coming off rather adorably so. "Sue, you're just a bodyguard. Just you wait. I'll make you pay for this." I patted her head. Yes, Miss He, you should hurry back to school. It's almost lunchtime, don't go hungry. Our boss likes women with good appetites. Well, you still need more practice. Like last time, trying to keep up with me eating until you threw up. That wasn't worth it, was it? The boss was going on a business trip. On the way to the airport, I was on edge the whole time. Fortunately, no one followed us. Honestly, I thought someone as astronomically rich as him would have a private jet for long trips. But the boss dutifully bought a first-class ticket and didn't even use the VIP channel. It was very down-to-earth and low-key, but it made my heart thump nervously. What if someone got hold of his itinerary and was plotting to be on the same flight? Pulling a long face, gritting my teeth, I looked at the boss with deep concern. "Boss, you must come back safely." Boss Qian shot me a look. "Is your boss going to Syria for charity work or something?" "That's not what I meant. I just ... Be careful on your journey, since I won't be with you." "Why won't you be with me?" "Hey, did you bring your ID?" "Yes. The secretary booked a ticket using your details. You're sitting next to me." Why wasn't I told beforehand that this business trip included me?" "What's that expression for?" Young Master Qian crossed his arms, eyeing me. "An all-expenses-paid trip. Not pleased?" "Pleased, utterly pleased." I trotted to keep up with his pace, secretly smiling. Hey, why does this feel a bit indulgent? I almost stepped on the gleaming, bespoke leather shoes of young Master Qian. His face was a billboard for, "Don't believe I can fire you at any moment. What are you following me for? Have you checked the luggage? Got your boarding pass? Nannan, you're here to work, not on holiday." This bucket of cold water doused me thoroughly. I quickly bowed and apologized, then rushed off to handle the procedures. The good thing about business trips was that I didn't have to stick to the boss, like glue 24/7. In an unfamiliar city, the swarm of social butterflies was reduced by more than half. My role devolved from bodyguard to driver, just ferrying the boss around for his business meetings. On the last day of the trip, I went as usual to pick up the boss from a cocktail party to take him back to the hotel. As soon as I arrived at the venue entrance, I saw the boss talking to a woman near a side hall entrance. This was a rare sight. In the months I'd worked for him, I'd rarely seen him initiate conversation with a woman. She was, admittedly, very beautiful. Most of the women swirling around him, scheming for him, were beautiful. The key was that this one wasn't vulgar. She had an air of refinement about her, a sort of intellectual grace. I couldn't quite figure it out. Was this a female friend or a high-level green tea scheming woman? But the girl didn't give me time to hesitate. After just a couple of sentences, without any warning, she threw a full glass of red wine right in the boss's face. The wine ruined the boss's perfectly styled hair, turning it into a mess, and dyed his shirt a purplish red. The boss was stunned. I was even more stunned. Bloody hell. If only I'd been a bit later. Would the boss silence me? Would he blame me for incompetence, for failing to protect him? Was this girl's move operating on a whole different level? I hurried over, quick as lightning, and grabbed the beauty's offending little hand. "Young Master Kian, are you all right? I am late." The beauty's face fell instantly, staring at my iron clamp grip. "And who are you? This is between Duodwo and me. Outsiders shouldn't interfere." "Oh, hello, I'm Boss Kian's bod." Before I could finish, Kian Yuan pulled me into his embrace. E.H. This bloke was supposed to be pampered and delicate, boneless even. How did he manage to pull me? Before I could process it, young Master Kian said, "She's my darling. Darling, your sister. Boss Kian, get a grip. Don't let a glass of wine wash your brains away. I'm your bodyguard. Your adorable, kind-hearted, but large-bodied female bodyguard." The beauty's face darkened further. She laughed in anger. "Duodwo, who are you trying to fool?" Young Master Kian poked my shoulder with 2 fingers, signaling me to detach from his embrace. I did so, too shocked to speak. Young Master Kian then slung an arm over my shoulder and said firmly, "Muya, this is my girlfriend. She's accompanying me on this business trip." Yosh, such a cliché plot. I immediately got into character, rolled my eyes and pointed at the beauty. "Well, I should be asking you. Who are you? How dare you throw wine for no reason all over, ... Duodwo's face." The smile slowly vanished from Muya's face. After looking me up and down, she raised her chin haughtily. "Kian Yuan, I admit, you've disgusted me." On the way back to the hotel, the boss was very quiet, the wine still on his face, not letting anyone wipe it. After a long silence, the boss suddenly spoke. "Sushengnan, I'm sorry." I laughed it off. "It's fine. Really, if you think about it, this falls within my job scope. It's nothing. I'm sorry." He was curled up in the passenger seat, a large figure, but somehow giving off a strangely small and vulnerable vibe. "Ah, boss, stop it. It's really no big deal. I've even had to get up in the middle of the night to buy the morning after pill for a previous boss before." My hands on the steering wheel were sweating. His speech grew softer, with a heavy, trailing tone. "Don't call me boss anymore. Call me Kian Yuan." I chose my words carefully. "Well, Kian. Boss, my previous bosses weren't as rich or as handsome as you. They fooled around shamelessly. Compared to them, you're a really good boss. You don't need to apologize. Just consider it me taking a hit for a friend." After I finished, I waited anxiously for the boss's response. I waited and waited, almost reaching the hotel, only to find the boss had fallen asleep, and he was bloody snoring. Have you ever seen an overbearing CEO snore? I've now had that experience. Really, even his snoring was good-looking. The sound somehow melodious. Just like our first meeting months ago, I carried the unconscious boss Kian into his hotel room. I garnered a slew of shocked and horrified looks along the way. Struggling, I managed to open the door with the key card. Struggling, I dumped him onto the bed. I was starting to suspect he'd been drugged again. Was he drunk or just asleep? I wiped my sweat, panting heavily, and collapsed onto the carpet. The boss lay prone on the large bed, sleeping peacefully. After catching my breath, I stood up and glanced over. Dress trousers. But quite perky and firm. No wonder those women were obsessed. His figure alone was enough to test anyone's restraint. I took a good long look at the boss's fine physique. But only one thought occupied my mind. The boss is asleep. The wage slave is off duty. As I left, I accidentally caught a glimpse of the boss's face. Did he have to look so grumpy even in his sleep? Was someone harassing him in his dreams? The boss was staying in the presidential suite on the top floor. I had to go back to my standard room on the 7th floor. I received a call from the boss in the elevator. Puzzled, I answered. The boss sounded calm. Nannan, are you back in your room? Almost there, young Master Kian. Do you need something? The boss began to muster anger. I didn't dismiss you. Why did you leave? Look at this overbearing CEO talk. What time is it? Does he not let people sleep? I said cautiously. I waited for a while. You fell asleep, so I came back. Which eye of yours saw me asleep? The boss said, annoyed. Then if you weren't asleep, could you snore? In the silence that followed from the boss, I had already mentally built a villa with my toes for him to move into. Go buy me a change of clothes. We're returning to Z City tomorrow. The boss didn't specify his size. I drove to the shopping district, browsed around, and bought a tracksuit one size larger than what I wear. When I delivered it, the boss was in the shower. Young Master Kian, I've left them outside. You can get them yourself later. I won't come in. The water sound stopped abruptly. A muffled voice came from inside. Wait a moment. The water started again, unhurried and steady. Fine then. Wait a moment it is. I began to sit restlessly on the sofa in the living room. The boss came out wearing a bathrobe, water droplets still clinging to his hair. His skin was flushed a delicate pink-white from the hot steam, the picture of radiant beauty, a feast for the eyes. I swallowed, sat up straight, stared rigidly ahead and hurriedly asked, Is there anything else you need me to do? He sat down opposite me and pointed towards the wine cabinet. Have a couple of drinks with me. More alcohol? I instantly became alert. It was almost midnight. Was this bastard planning something untoward towards me? I squinted, assessing his arms and legs, then assessed my own. Confidence instantly restored. Kian Yuan casually ran a hand through his hair. Every movement exuded that damned captivating charm. Don't you want to ask who the woman at the banquet was? I don't want to know. I've already forgotten. Boss, you can rest assured. So he was worried I'd gossip back home and was testing me. After I said this, the boss's expression didn't improve. Didn't we agree? Call me Kian Yuan. ... Is he a bit touched in the head? A trace of loneliness flitted across the boss's face. Forget it. Pour me a drink. Empty bottles scattered across the floor. I watched as Kian Yuan, without a word, drank himself into a blithering idiot again. After the night's series of bizarre events, I was thoroughly confused. What the hell is going on? But it was clear he was very upset. Extremely upset. I had to drag him to bed again. This time he was restless. Such a big man, writhing like a pale, squirming maggot, tossing and turning, not letting me touch him. I thought for a moment, then adopted the stance I use when giving duodwe medicine or shots, locked his neck in a hold, and patted his head. Be good, Boss Kian, listen. The sofa is cold. Stop moving. The ancestor didn't even flutter an eyelid, seemingly glued to the sofa. Suppressing my impatience, I muttered, This is harder than dealing with my duodwe when he's sick. Kian Yuan's eyes snapped open, gazing at me dazedly. I waved a fist vaguely in his direction, and cursed under my breath. What are you looking at, you troublesome creature? And you want duodwe to change his name? What gives you the right? Kian Yuan's nearly closed eyes abruptly opened halfway again. I sensed a pattern and tentatively called him Duodwo. Boss Kian's eyelashes fluttered, like little brushes. I reached out and poked his cheek. The bastard actually nuzzled my finger. Moneybags Duodwo. He finally had a bigger reaction, his limbs flailing chaotically as he tried to get up. Then thump, he fell onto the wooden floor. This gave me a fright. I hurried to pull him up. In the process of pulling him, somehow, don't know how, the belt of the ancestor's bathrobe came loose. Came loose. Can anyone tell me why bosses have this excellent habit of not wearing underwear? So he'd been drinking with me. Completely starkers? If Kian Yuan woke up and knew he'd returned to his natural state in front of me, would he kill me to silence me? I figured he mustn't know about this. With the boss's temperament, my job would definitely be gone. After thinking it over, I needed to get his robe back on properly, and get him into bed, wrapped up. Move over, crouch down, reach out. These 3 actions took me an eternity. Using 2 fingers, I reached around his waist, found one end of the belt on the floor and picked it up. Good. Success was near. Of all the rotten luck, Boss Kian, finding the floor too hard, turned over, revealing one half of his butt cheek. Help. Help. My eyes. I really didn't want to see the boss in his birthday suit. No matter how handsome or sexy, I didn't want to see it. My mind was filled only with the sound of police sirens, 110, mixed with the mournful singing of the Tears Behind Bars song. The boss's waist was pinning down the bathrobe belt. The plan to get him dressed had utterly failed. In the end, I sprinted at 100-meter dash speed to the bedroom, grabbed a blanket, wrapped the boss in it, hoisted him up, and threw him onto the bed. Looking at the boss's infant-like sleeping face, I wiped the sweat from my brow and rubbed my sore arms and back. This ancestor really isn't light either. The next day, I was woken by my phone ringing. I looked. It was, again, the boss. I was terribly sleepy, cleared my throat and asked, "Young Master Kian, isn't the flight this afternoon? Do you need to go somewhere now?" Kian Yuan said, "Su Shengnan, you touched me last night?" What does he mean? I touched him. If I didn't touch him, how could I have gotten him into bed? Wait, does the touch he means and the touch I understand mean the same thing? My remaining sleepiness vanished instantly. I jolted upright. Boss ... Let me explain ... Kian Yuan said, "No need to explain. Go back to sleep." Eh? Boss? Boss Kian. Hello? Young Master Kian? I moved the phone away and looked. Bloody hell. He'd hung up. Who could sleep after that? I got ready and rushed straight to the boss's room. When I arrived, the boss was already dressed in the tracksuit I bought him. Not gonna lie, it made him look younger, tender enough to pinch water from, good looking. Seeing him standing by the floor-to-ceiling window drinking milk, posing like a business elite, I didn't dare disturb him. After he finished the milk unhurriedly, I said, "Boss, it's almost noon. Should I order lunch to be sent up?" Kian Yuan looked me up and down and said, "About last night. I will take responsibility." I nearly choked on my saliva and refused righteously. "No need, we are completely innocent. Nothing happened." "Young Master Kian, you must have had too much to drink last night and misremembered." Kian Yuan looked at me displeased. "Are you saying I would misremember? Anyone can misremember ... I muttered inwardly, "Unless you're not human." Seeing me mumbling with my head down, he grew more impatient and strode quickly towards me. I alertly stepped back, bumping into the leg of the sofa and falling backwards onto it. Kian Yuan rushed forward in a flash, wanting to catch me. I had a quick thought, taking advantage of the momentum, did a backward roll on the sofa, and landed steadily on my feet on the floor. The move was so smooth and perfect I felt like bowing for a curtain call. I breathed a sigh of relief, looking at Kian Yuan's stiffened smile and his arms still hanging mid-air. "Young Master Kian, falling on a sofa won't hurt anyone. Besides, I'm a bodyguard. I have some basic skills." Kian Yuan pressed his lips together firmly, straightening his upper body. "I'm promoting you to be my chief secretary. You don't need to be a bodyguard anymore." I asked, "And the salary package ... double quotes. Double. Very good, young Master Kian. Let's sign the contract when we get back." The doorbell rang. I immediately hurried to check before the boss could. As soon as I took a step, a sharp pain shot from my lumbar spine into my abdomen. I clutched my lower back, the pain making me break out in a cold sweat. I turned back and looked sheepishly at Kian Yuan. Kian Yuan looked at me with a very doubtful, horrified expression. "We ... last night. Was it that intense?" "Ah. What did you say?" Qian Yuan seemed to soothe himself with some self-hypnosis for a moment, told me to sit and rest, and went to the door himself. A short while later, he returned carrying a bag. The hotel had cleaned and returned his suit. He insisted on taking me to the hospital. I did a set of rehab exercises myself and felt it wasn't a big issue. No need to waste money. We went back and forth until we were both hungry. I urged him again to order food. Who knew this ancestor hadn't just rewritten his memories of last night, but had also accidentally seen a tourist pamphlet and decided he wanted to go eat at a famously popular local barbecue spot. Well, he had just given me a promotion and raise. The boss's demands must be met. I looked up the address and we set off immediately, watching him, dressed in a plain-colored tracksuit, climb into the back seat. I wondered why he wasn't wearing his deathly expensive bespoke suits anymore. "Young Master Qian, is the outfit comfortable?" I asked, watching his face in the rearview mirror. Qian Yuan raised an eyebrow, looked up directly into the rearview mirror, his gaze sharp, as if trying to pierce right into one's heart. I immediately focused on driving, then heard him say leisurely, "Very comfortable. You're very attentive. The size fits perfectly." We arrived at the barbecue place. Looking at it, this place didn't seem high-end at all. It was like a roadside stall with a canopy. Why were so many people queuing? I took a number and joined the queue. Qian Yuan stood to the side, arms crossed. "Can't we make a reservation?" "No, this place doesn't take online reservations," I patiently replied. "Can't we pay extra to get a table?" "No. ... Can I just buy this place?" ... Young Master Qian, that's not necessary ... After queuing for over 10 minutes, young Master Qian was clearly impatient, but still maintained good composure, lowering his head and idly playing with the potted plant by the door with the tip of his shoe. Honestly, I was more anxious than him, terrified of spoiling his mood and making him angry. Finally, after half an hour, it was almost our turn, when a few sweaty, burly men suddenly cut in front of me, familiarly yelling their order to the owner. I tapped the shoulder of the guy nearest me and said with a smile, "Mate, we were here first." The man looked at me suspiciously, then at Qian Yuan standing in the shade nearby, and was about to move to the back when his companion called him back. The leader walked over, slouching and casual, laughing as he leaned on his friend's shoulder. "Sis, there's a lot of us. We're starving. Just wait a bit longer, eh?" I frowned, not noticing Qian Yuan had come to stand beside me. He said to the middle-aged man with the oily, fleshy smile, "Sir, the concept of first come, first served is taught in kindergarten. Did you not even attend kindergarten?" The man stopped smiling. The atmosphere chilled instantly. The noisy chatter around us quietened. His friend pulled his arm, urging him to let it go. The man shot Qian Yuan a glare and boldly stayed in the spot in front of me. "Hey, didn't you understand what I said?" Qian Yuan crossed his arms, raising his chin with an air of refined nobility. In the sunlight, his features seemed to glow. "It seems you not only lack home training but are also deaf." I watched in surprise as the middle-aged man, his face contorted with rage, left the table and strode over. I really wanted to warn young Master Qian. He wasn't wearing a suit today. He looked like a pampered, delicate-skinned university student, completely lacking an intimidation factor. The man rushed over, pointed at my nose and said, "Keep your pretty boy in check. Tell him to stop yapping. I've been eating here for over a decade. Who the fuck are you to tell me whether I queue or not?" Qian Yuan sneered and continued his verbal assault. "A pity your parents didn't bother. But I can provide the discipline in their stead." The moment those guys started rolling up their sleeves and approaching, I was mentally prepared. Qian Yuan was startled by the man's boorish and rude advance. Took a step back. Then, reacting, stepped forward again. Of course, I didn't want him getting close to this man. If he got hurt or scratched, it would be my fault. But this guy had a bunch of lackeys. Dealing with them took me a little time. Plus, my back wasn't great today, so my performance was slightly off. By the time I'd taken down the man's lackeys and rushed over, Qian Yuan was already being choked, his eyes starting to roll back. Horrified, I launched a flying kick, sent the man sprawling, helped Qian Yuan up, and checked him for injuries. "Young Master Qian, hang on. I'll teach them a lesson for you right now." Kian Yuan, coughing and gasping for breath, grabbed my sleeve. What lesson? Call the police. Are you trying to brawl in the street? The heat in my head cooled. I realized he was right. I immediately pulled out my phone, called the police, and for good measure, dialed 120 for an ambulance. Seeing the situation turn sour, the man, abandoning his lackeys, scrambled up and tried to run. How dare you run? Gritting my teeth, I shot off in a 100-meter dash, launched myself like a great eagle spreading its wings and pinned him down. The man cursed and struggled. In the chaos, his hand found an empty beer bottle. In a panic, he swung it and hit me square on the forehead. It felt like someone had struck a giant bell inside my head. A sharp pain, and I was dizzy for a few seconds. My first reaction, once I recovered, was to punch him twice in the nose, making his blood fly. Kian Yon ran over, dragged me off the man, held me, pressed on my bleeding forehead, anxious and furious. I said, don't chase him. Leave it to the police. What are you, a gangster? Does it hurt? Hold on, the ambulance is coming soon. I grimaced in pain, only feeling that his embrace was so warm, comfortable and fragrant. Shivering, I said, I ran too fast. Didn't hear you. The police arrived. The ambulance arrived. The paramedic gave me basic first aid. The wound wasn't serious. The police herded the thugs into the back of the police van, looking at the bandage on my head with an air of routine. Can you give a statement? I can, I said, standing up from the ambulance stretcher. Kian Yuan, sticking close, stood up too. No, she can't. The police officer and I both looked at him in silence. Kian Yuan stated righteously, she needs rest. I brushed the dust off my legs, hopped down from the ambulance, feeling strangely touched. Boss, I can do it. No need to make another trip later. After the statement was done, the police officer said it was fine. We could go. By the time we left the police station, it was almost dark. We'd long missed our flight. I said, I'll book tickets for tomorrow morning now. Let me take you back to rest first. Kian Yon took the keys from my hand. In your state, better not drive. I'll do it. Safety is most important. For the first time in months on the job, I sat in my own passenger seat. Why did it feel more comfortable than the driver's seat? Kian Yuan said while driving. Next time something like this happens, don't rely on brute force. If it's unavoidable, always call the police. And besides, I'm here. You don't need to charge ahead. I thought back. At the time, this little ancestor was nearly choked unconscious. How could I not charge ahead? Besides, if we'd used my method from the start, shown him we meant business, scared him off, wouldn't that have been enough? He just couldn't hold back, had to engage in verbal warfare. Started a fight himself, couldn't win it, and has the nerve to lecture me. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I muttered, a female bodyguard is still a bodyguard. If you, the principal, charge ahead and get hurt, what's the point of hiring a bodyguard? Kian Yuan heard me clearly. He slowly pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to look at me very seriously. Su Shengnan, do you think I'm being sexist? Bodyguards are people too. No matter what, this is just a job for you. No job is more important than your life. What if he had stabbed at you with a knife instead? His words left me speechless. I didn't dare refute him. Because he was right. And he looked really angry. I blinked, looking at his profile. His lips pressed together, pouting angrily like a white pufferfish's belly. My heart gave a little lurch. It wasn't until he started the car and continued driving back that I said, if the worst really happened, I have health insurance. That night, Kian Yuan personally saw me back to my room. I tried to refuse, but after much persuasion, I was almost ready to perform a military boxing routine in front of him, to prove I was really fine before he finally agreed to leave. In the middle of the night, sleeping in a daze, I heard knocking. Opened the door to find Boss Kian leaning against the doorframe with an air of practiced elegance, getting straight to the point. I can't sleep. You can't sleep. What's that got to do with me? I'm the bloody injured one. Can't you let me rest properly? In the moment I was distracted, he had already slipped like an eel into my room and sat on the edge of the bed. My sleepiness faded a bit. I walked over and studied his subtly strange expression. Young Master Kian, is there something you need? He looked up at me, licked the corner of his lip, his narrowed eyes sparkling like a swirling glass of wine. Come here. My internal alarm bells blurred. This guy was radiating the aura of a male seductress. Thinking back to when my previous boss changed his tastes, I'd seen my fair share of men of that ilk. I'm not coming over. There's something off about you. Kian Yuan chuckled softly. I never knew a man could make such a delicate and affected sound. A laugh so seductive you could squeeze water from it. Whether it was my brain heating up or my body, I started sweating. He pouted, and in the blink of an eye, had stripped off his upper half. My eyes nearly popped out of my head. A wave of heat rushed over me. Kian Yuan. Seeing he was about to continue undressing, I couldn't take it anymore. I rushed over and grabbed his wrist. Get out. It's the middle of the night. Careful, I sue you for workplace sexual harassment. He laughed again, gripped my wrist in return, and gave a sharp pull. My mind went blank. When the scene before me refocused, I was bedpinning Kian Yuan. He smelled so good. His skin was so fair, so smooth. I forced myself to look away, stammering, Kian Yuan. Don't try to seduce me so blatantly. I am a woman too. He smiled, stretched out his arms and hooked them around my neck. A kiss that stole all the air from my lungs. My whole body felt burning hot. Gritting my teeth, I stared at his enticing yet hateful face. You asked for this. I held his waist, our eyes locked. I threw caution to the wind and yelled, Bring it on. Let's see what you've got. Waking up the next day, I felt incredibly refreshed and in high spirits. I got up very early to have breakfast at the hotel restaurant. As luck would have it, I ran into Kian Yuan again. He was sitting alone in a secluded spot and beckoned me over normally. I couldn't escape. Hesitantly, I carried my buffet tray over. Kian Yuan asked, Does your head still hurt? No. Did you sleep well last night? My face flushed bright red instantly. Guiltily, I said, Yes, very well. The key point is, last night's dream felt so real. Just recalling it this morning made my face burn. He frowned. Do you have a fever? No. I waved my hands awkwardly. But I couldn't control the temperature of my face. It kept rising, my ears started burning too. Honestly, before this, at most I privately joked about it. I'd never actually had any real thoughts about him. That dream last night made it impossible for me to go back to looking at him normally. Although suspicious, Kian Yuan didn't ask further, just told me to go to the hospital to change the dressing as soon as we returned to Z City. In the afternoon, on the plane, Kian Yuan was very gentlemanly, letting me take the window seat, and didn't make me handle the luggage. Thinking about it, it seemed like after I witnessed him getting wine thrown in his face, his attitude became strange. And after the fight with the thugs yesterday, it did a complete 180. Had I stumbled upon some wealth code? Should I take the opportunity to be greedy and ask for an even bigger raise? When the flight attendant brought drinks, Kian Yuan took them himself and handed one to me. The moment my fingers touched his, I remembered the image of our fingers interlacing last night in my dream. I jerked my hand back, failed to catch the drink and spilled it all over the floor. Life back in Z City was smooth and steady. Kian Yuan's attitude towards me had improved a lot. It was normal. So normal it felt a bit abnormal. But I soon discovered that although he'd promoted me and made me his chief assistant, my work was essentially still that of a bodyguard. I asked the former chief assistant, Zhao Mao, what was going on. The current assistant to the chief assistant, Zhao Mao, said to me, Sis Nan, the boss doesn't need reasons for what he does. Better not ask. I figured he'd gone from being Kian Yuan's assistant to being my assistant, but was still doing the same work. He was probably somewhat displeased, so it was normal he wouldn't tell me. But wasn't Kian Yuan being redundant here? After all the changes, the only things that had changed were mine and Zhao Mao's job titles and salaries. The next day I asked Kian Yuan, Young Master Kian, well, now that I'm your assistant, how come you haven't assigned me anything? I'm drawing such a high salary. My conscience can't take it. Kian Yuan finished signing the documents in Zhao Mao's hands, nodded, gesturing for him to leave. Then turned to me, appearing to think for a moment, looking somewhat troubled. Xiao Mao speaks 4 languages. Can you? I started sweating a little. No. Xiao Mao has 2 doctorate degrees, do you? No. I went in baffled and came out baffled, reaching only one conclusion. Xiao Mao must have offended Qian Yuan. And it was a major offense. He was deliberately using me to punish him. Before I could figure out the exact nature of the deep-seated grudge between Qian Yuan and Xiao Mao, the woman who had thrown red wine on Boss Qian showed up again. This time, she seemed to be here as a potential cooperation partner for meetings and negotiations. Qian Yuan received her and her entourage with his usual demeanor, and the whole group trooped off to the meeting room. I waited outside, watching Xiao Mao bustling in and out. Finally catching him in a free moment, I asked him what was happening inside. Xiao Mao said that Director Mu and President Qian were locked in a stalemate. The cooperation was hard to finalize. I thought and said, "It seems young Master Qian has some personal history with her. Couldn't we just choose not to cooperate?" Xiao Mao shook his head. "Sis Nan, cooperation between 2 large enterprises involves many moving parts. It's not that simple. Probably has little to do with personal likes or dislikes." So I shut up. This kind of thing really wasn't for me to interfere in. I'd better be content being a top-tier bodyguard. The meeting lasted from noon until evening. By the time Qian Yuan emerged, it was already dark outside. During the day, the group had argued until they were red in the face, neither side yielding. By now, they were all smiles, shaking hands, and making up. I saw Qian Yuan and Muya walk out side by side. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, incredibly well-matched. Qian Yuan paused in front of me and said, "Wait for me in the garage." The gazes of everyone in the lobby shot towards my face simultaneously. Surprise, scrutiny, cold smiles, even jealousy. The smile on Muya's face stiffened. She glanced at me out of the corner of her eye, her expression showing surprise. "Young President Qian, Hesung Lu is already booked. Let's all have a simple meal together." People around immediately chimed in agreement. Qian Yuan looked at Muya, smiled with an unfathomable meaning, and said very politely, "Apologies. I have some matters at home. I won't be joining. Xiao Mao will follow up with you on the contract details." The surroundings fell into a brief stalemate. It was Muya who, with a strained smile, smoothed things over and saw the others off. Qian Yuan walked back to the elevator bank and tapped me on the head. He rubbed the space between his eyebrows, his tone very tired. "Why is still here?" I said wait in the garage. It wasn't until we reached Qian Yuan's private apartment that I managed to collect my thoughts. Distractedly, I unbuckled my seatbelt, looked up sharply, and realized I was in the passenger seat. "Hey, wait, shouldn't I be driving the boss home?" I looked at Qian Yuan on my left. He looked back at me. We looked at each other, having a staring contest for a full 2 minutes. Qian Yuan rubbed his forehead, sighed, and couldn't help saying, "Aren't your eyes tired? Staring so wide?" I asked, trembling, "Boss Qian, I might have a bold conjecture." "Oh?" The tiredness on his face faded a few degrees. His dark pupils were startlingly bright. "Then take a bold guess." I mentally built villas with my toes until they nearly crumped before finally asking, trembling, and in a small voice, Do you like me?" "A little." "Just a little?" I actually felt a bit unwilling. He tilted his head, looking at me with a hint of a smile. "Just a little. Then then what now?" I protectively held my collar, trying to flex my biceps. "Trying to buy me off with money?" Qian Yuan raised an eyebrow. "Haven't I given enough already?" I instantly deflated, feeling dejected. Sigh. "It's just that you've given too much. It makes me feel unjustified and lacking in confidence." He smiled, not saying a word. Heaven knows how much I wished he would interrupt my stupid rambling right now. But he deliberately didn't. "What you gave me is a salary. We signed a contract. Even if I don't accept your confession, you can't get angry and take it back. If you..." Qian Yuan studied me for a long moment, then said slowly, "First, I didn't confess to you. You asked yourself. Second, I won't confiscate your salary. Xiao Mao isn't wronged either. It's just a title change. Don't call me Moneybags Duodwo. Call me Kian Yuan. Fourth. He opened the car door, his tone softening considerably. Come upstairs. I'll treat you to dinner. I found it all absurd, wondering what he saw in me. Was it my relatively well-developed biceps and calf muscles? Can I refuse? Kian Yuan didn't even look up, saying offhandedly, Of course you can. Then I pressed my empty, rumbling stomach, my face pale. Kian Yuan laughed. Looks like your stomach doesn't want to refuse. Kian Yuan treated me to an authentic Hunan meal, but I couldn't really taste anything. What was this all about? He admitted to liking me a little, but didn't actually confess. So what are we supposed to do now? Stuck in this awkward limbo. Kian Yuan put a serving of food in my bowl. It won't taste good cold. I was creeped out by his sudden attentiveness. Hesitating for a moment, I asked, Young Master Kian. No, Kian Yuan. You said you like me a little. What exactly is that, little? I can't really explain it. He put down his chopsticks and trotted out that classic overbearing CEO line. But you, special. I patiently continued. Is it that I'm specially strong? Kian Yuan said, Perhaps. Mate, don't just say perhaps. I felt like a monkey being teased, my expectations toyed with. I put my chopsticks down. We can't have a conversation like this. I'm full. I'm leaving. Kian Yuan stopped me. He said, Su Shengnan, this isn't fair. What's not fair? I turned back impatiently. He stood up. You asked, I answered. I didn't avoid the question, I told the truth. So now I'll ask you. Do you like me? How much? I couldn't answer a question like that. In my over 20 years of life, no one had ever asked me that. Kian Yuan had someone drive me home and told me to think it over properly. Until I figured it out, everything would remain as before. I returned to my rented flat, turned on the light, changed my shoes. The place was cold and quiet. Only Duodwo lay in the entryway, belly up, meowing. I fed him, changed his water, cleaned the litter box, sat on the sofa and began carefully recalling everything that had happened since meeting Kian Yuan those months ago. Did I like him? How much? I'd spent day and night with him for months, travelled on business together, seen him at his most proper and his most dishevelled. If anything had changed, at most I just thought he was an increasingly decent guy. But he was pretty good to all his subordinates. You couldn't see much difference. As for me, it seemed like I hadn't felt anything special from start to finish. Everyone said he was handsome. The receptionist sisters would put on full makeup for the possibility of him showing up. When he went out for business, he was constantly at the level where people would sneak photos, but when it comes to looks, I'm naturally a bit insensitive. I really can't appreciate it much. Most of the time, I just find it troublesome, adding to my workload. But I had to admit, Kian Yuan was a very well-mannered person. He had his own set of principles and standards. Even the woman who initially drugged him, he didn't actually do anything to her. Even though there was a whole garden of women flocking behind him, he'd rather take the long way around, never setting foot in it. Where do you find a good man like that? How could he be wasted on me? I'm not worthy. Besides, I genuinely didn't feel much. After 2 hours of serious thought, I very solemnly and carefully worded a work email to Kian Yuan. I told him I didn't like him, but I respected him greatly and cherished this job. I hoped he could explore my work capabilities more. At 3 a.m., Kian Yuan replied with a noted, "For fuck's sake." I wanted to punch him through the computer screen. The next day, after mentally preparing myself all the way to the company, Kian Yuan wasn't there. Went to find Zhao Mao. Zhao Mao wasn't there either. After asking around, I found out Kian Yuan had taken Zhao Mao on a business trip to Europe for at least 2 months. I asked the general manager about my work arrangements. The GM said, "President Kian left in a hurry. Didn't assign you any tasks. If you're willing, there's an opening for a security team lead downstairs after the last one left. You can fill in for a while." I agreed, went to logistics to get a security uniform, and started my post as security team lead. I spotted Princess He the moment she arrived. Her golden, glittering hair was enough to blind everyone in the lobby. Miss He said, Su Chengnain, right? Demoted to security already? I pretended not to hear. Miss He, it's a work day. Don't you have university classes? Princess, he pulled out a pack of women's cigarettes from her bag. Can I skip class to have some fun? I quickly stopped her. Miss He, you can't smoke here. Princess, he actually put them back, pouted. I was hoping you'd tell me where Kian Yuan went. Looks like you're like a clay idol fording a river. Hardly able to save yourself. I couldn't be bothered to explain that I hadn't been demoted. I just said, young Master Kian is on a business trip. You can come back when he returns. Princess, he scoffed, winking playfully. What do you know? Old Master Kian is in poor health. It's being kept quiet everywhere. Even my dad doesn't know where he's being treated. Whether he's getting treatment or waiting to die is still up for debate. The fastest ways for two women to become friends are to share a secret or badmouth someone together. Princess, he told me a secret, and we became friends. Getting carried away chatting, Princess, he invited me to dinner, saying it's rare to find a kindred spirit in life. I checked the time and said I was still on duty. Princess, he blinked again, her tight false eyelashes fluttering like in a wind. She said, have you ever skipped work? I said, no. Skipping work deducts pay. I won't do it. Princess, he bought me coffee. We wandered around and ended up in a tiny cafe tucked into a city crevice. No bigger than the palm of your hand. Only 2 tables, both full. I said there was a Starbucks outside. Maybe we could go there. Princess, he refused, saying Starbucks was like dishwater. This rich young lady even knew about dishwater. Princess, he then said she wasn't that much of a second-generation rich. Her old man was different from Kian Yuan's father. Kian Yuan's father's family had been wealthy for who knows how many generations. Not just rich but also from a scholarly family. When her dad had her, he didn't even own a flat. Later, he caught the trend of the times. Just a pig that flew. I'd never heard anyone describe their own father like that. But the more we chatted, the more I found Princess he quite likable. She told me old Master Kian had been ill for a long time. Kian Yuan had been abroad studying something about art. A few years ago, the family needed people, so they called him back to gradually take over the family company. Imagine such a big company, messy and complicated underneath. It really takes years to get a proper handle on it. I deeply agreed. Boss Kian is actually quite down to earth. He handles things personally and works very hard. Princess, he lit a cigarette. Good eye, sis. So, back at that dinner, I fancied him at first sight. That kind of man, if you miss him, you won't find another. I felt a bit of empathy for her, so I seriously tried to give her advice. Our boss is actually a good person. Why not try being friends with him first? Your parents know each other. Spend more time together before talking about dating. Princess, he sighed. I looked into it. Kian Yuan has an ex, Mia. It's tricky. Hearing that name, my ears pricked up. How tricky? Ooh. How else? Unresolved feelings, of course. I weighed my words, omitted the part about the boss getting wine thrown on him, and told her about running into Muya during the business trip. Princess, he listened and lamented. Damn. That haunting B*TCH. I looked into it before. That Muya, relying on her family being old friends with the Kians, basically looks down on people like us. Princess, he and I exchanged WeChat, and occasionally chatted about gossip in the second-generation rich kid circle. From her, I learned a lot about Kian Yuan, like his 5-year-long first love with Muya, like how he actually didn't like business and preferred art, and how his reputation was extremely polarized. Men saw him as a master player with excellent camouflage. Women saw him as a clean-living, talented young man. Looking at the 3,000 beauties in the boss's secondary WeChat account, I felt I had contributed to that too. When Kian Yuan was here, he usually left for work at 6:30 a.m., so I needed to pick him up at 6 a.m. Sometimes he worked until midnight, and I had to drive him home then too. Now he was gone. I never had to get up early again. Never had to constantly be on guard against beautiful women entering and leaving the company. Security work was in shifts. I did the day shift, 9 to -5. Couldn't ask for more comfortable. With work more relaxed, my mind had free time. The longer time passed, the more clearly I discovered. I missed him. I missed Kian Yuan. I wanted him to come back soon. After waiting half a month, there was no sign of Kian Yuan returning. Our WeChat chat history was still stuck from half a month ago, when he finished that meeting and texted me to wait for him in the underground car park. Thinking it over, I carefully worded a message to Kian Yuan, asking when he was returning so I could drive to the airport to pick him up. Kian Yuan didn't reply. It wasn't until the next morning when the general manager saw me early and asked, puzzled, "Zhao Su, why are you still in your security uniform? Shouldn't you be at the airport picking him up right now?" My head was full of question marks. Kian. The boss didn't say anything. The GM wondered. His flight was last night. He should have arrived by now. As he spoke, I started taking off my security jacket. Then I might still make it. General manager, I'm leaving first. The GM smiled, squinting, and waved his hand like shooing a duck. Go on, go on. I rushed to the airport but didn't manage to meet Kian Yuan. Called Jiao Mao, who said they had just left the airport a moment ago. Where are you? I'll come find you. On the other end, Zhao Mao lowered his voice. Sis Nan, don't come. President Kian has some matters to handle here. I'll drive him back to the company later. Don't worry. Send me your location. Hearing Zhao Mao's protesting too much tone made me even more certain I had to go. In less than a minute, Zhao Mao sent the location. I got into the driver's seat, pulled out of the airport and slammed on the accelerator. Honestly, I never expected Kian Yuan's some matters would be a family gathering. When I pushed open the door according to the location, my whole being felt wrong. The luxurious private room was filled with a circle of important people I didn't know. Kian Yuan sat by the window. Madame Kian sat next to him, and on his other side was Muya. After a good while, the middle-aged woman next to Muya asked, "And this is—" Muya looked at me coldly, not planning to speak. Kian Yuan, however, was very calm. So calm it was a bit much. He exchanged a look with his mother and spoke. My apologies. This is my girlfriend. She's late. Nannan, come sit here. I stared stiffly at the two women on either side of him. You can spout nonsense with your eyes open, but where exactly am I supposed to sit? On your lap. The moment Kian Yuan said that, the atmosphere became even more awkward than when I had barged in, because everyone's gaze shifted from my face to Muya's face. Kian Yuan's meaning was for me to sit next to him, but we couldn't ask Madame Kian to move, so that meant I sat on the chair Muya had just vacated. The seat was still warm from her. At that moment, I truly understood what sitting on pins and needles meant. I kept my mouth shut and observed carefully. This banquet seemed to be just a private meal between the Mu and Kian families. It was Muya's family and Madame Kian's sisters-in-law. I tried to catch Kian Yuan's eye for help, wanting to ask what was going on. But he maintained a mysterious smile, letting the corner of my eye twitch without responding. Eat. He pointed to the plate in front of me. I gritted my teeth. Do you think I can eat anything? He leaned slightly closer, whispering, 10,000 per bite. Not going to try? Try? I'll try until I drop dead. I dare say I was the only one there to actually eat at that whole meal, because these rare, unnameable delicacies were just too delicious. I couldn't help myself. I ate Kian Yuan's portion too. By the end, I wasn't even 1/3 full. As we were leaving, I quietly asked Kian Yuan, how much did I eat today? Kian Yuan said without changing expression, less than 500,000. Bloody hell. Throwing 500,000 into my stomach, and it didn't even make a sound. I touched my still flat belly, thinking how great it would be if I could get that 500,000 in cash. I could eat premium spicy hot pot for a lifetime. Kian Yuan went to see the elders off. I went to the restroom. Coming out, I saw Muya fixing her makeup in front of the mirror. My social anxiety flared up instantly. I didn't even want to wash my hands. It was Muya who spoke first. Are you really Duoduo's girlfriend? I looked at her sheepishly. Do you believe it? She thought about it. I definitely wouldn't have believed it before. Now it's hard to say. The catfight I anticipated didn't happen. The atmosphere was oddly balanced. I simply asked her, rumor has it you and President Kian were together for many years. Is that true? Muya gave me a look of disdain, saying sarcastically, checking out the romantic history already. What? Feeling insecure? She continued, so what if we were? Don't expect me to think much of you. That moneybags de Wardlow has had a screw loose since he was a kid. His taste is questionable. Listening to her, turning it over in my head, it didn't sound much like the unresolved feelings, deeply in love situation princess he described. Back at the company, the first thing I did was ask Zhao Mao about the real story between Muya and Qian Yuan. Zhao Mao hemmed and hawed. But the more he hesitated, the more suspicious it seemed. I cornered him in the pantry, determined to squeeze something out of him. Zhao Mao looked like he was about to cry. Sis Nan, don't make things difficult for me. I really don't know. I pretended to cry too. Zhao Mao, it's not that sis wants to make things difficult for you. Look at Boss Qian. He's the one making things difficult for me. Zhao Mao stopped his act instantly, eyes wide. Boss Qian is making things difficult for you. How? Soon after, I received a WeChat message. Su Shengnan, if you have questions, come ask me directly. Don't make things difficult for Zhao Mao. No need to guess. Sent by Qian Yuan. Qian Yuan was sitting in his office, clearly waiting for me. I sat down, stood up, sat down again, stood up again. Qian Yuan's mouth twitched, clearly wanting to laugh. Are there thorns on the sofa? He crossed his legs the other way, interlacing his fingers. You were quite enthusiastic asking Zhao Mao. Not so enthusiastic with your boss. So how should I show enthusiasm? Rush over and plant a couple on him? I asked in a standard, formal manner. Young Master Qian, on the last business trip, why did Muya throw red wine on you? Because I was the one who initiated the breakup. She insisted I cheated. We hadn't seen each other for years after the breakup. That time was the first time since. I frowned, thinking his words were full of holes. Why did you break up? I didn't like her. You didn't like her but stayed with her for so long. Scumbag. She pursued me. Besides, we grew up together. Young and didn't know better. Being young is an excuse? The girl pursued you actively. You agreed even though you didn't like her. Wasted 5 years of her time. And then dumped her? My fists were clenched. What kind of peerless scumbag was this? If it were me, it wouldn't just be red wine. I'd bag you and beat the crap out of you. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. The angrier I got, the more I thought about it. I was absolutely filled with righteous indignation. I pointed a finger at his nose and said sternly and righteously, Young Master Qian, no matter how you look at this, you were in the wrong. You'd better apologize to Miss Mu. Otherwise none of us will forgive you. Qian Yuan frowned as if puzzled, propped his chin on his hand, and smiled. But I really didn't like her. I like women who can eat and sleep well, who are healthy. No, robust. During my 5th attempt to persuade Qian Yuan to apologize to Muya, he finally said, utterly exasperated, Su Shengnan, you really are incredibly dense. I thought, why is he insulting me now? It's clearly his scumbag behavior. What does it have to do with me being dense? Boss Qian, your conduct with your ex-girlfriend makes it hard to guarantee it won't happen again. You say you like me, but I reckon it's probably just because you've never met someone like me before. It's like being used to gourmet delicacies and finding a Jianbing Guozi novel. In my opinion, this isn't genuine liking. It's purely novelty. You should really cool down and think it over. Qian Yuan propped his chin on his hand, thinking, You're comparing yourself to a Jianbing Guozi. Is that the main point? I've thought it over during the half-month you were away. In the bodyguard profession, the biggest taboo is getting involved with the boss. I think it's better if I resign. Qian Yuan was taken aback for a moment, then said bluntly, I won't approve it. Then I'll go ask the HR manager. Go ahead and ask. See if he dares to let you go without my say-so. He had finally run out of patience, irritably tugging at his tie. Unfortunately, his demeanor just stirred my rebellious streak. All those feelings of missing him, longing for him, were burned away by anger. I turned around with what I hoped was cool, unyielding. I, Su Shengnin, would rather beg on the streets than be his slave. Outside, I bumped into Zhao Mao, his face pale and sweating. Of course, I knew he'd been eavesdropping, but I still disdainfully ignored him and strode off. I really went home. Before leaving, I didn't forget to clear out my desk and casually took the No point missing out on taking advantage of the capitalists. That evening, just as I finished cooking a pot of instant noodles and was about to eat, bang, bang, bang. Someone knocked on the door. Damn it. Don't they know the 3 minutes after instant noodles are cooked is the prime time to eat them? I picked up a chopstickful, blew on it, and still planned to take a bite. But the knocking became even more urgent. Damn it, you turtle's grandson. You'd better have a matter of sky-falling importance, or you're dead meat. I opened the door. Qian Yuan stood there, holding a large craft paper bag. The king crab from earlier. I noticed you seemed to like it. This portion should be enough for you. I glanced back at my soon-to-be soggy noodles, then at the bag in his hand, and let him in. Soon I smelled alcohol. It took me a while to realize it was coming from him. Have you been drinking? Had some business entertainment tonight. Drank a little. Qian Yuan surveyed my pot of instant noodles as if on an inspection tour, frowning. You're eating this? Isn't the salary I pay you enough for proper food? I figured since I'd already broken the pot after falling during the day and had unilaterally fired him, he wasn't my boss anymore. So I replied quite rudely. You pay a high salary, sure, but I've only worked for a few months. Z-City is prohibitively expensive. I'm still far from being able to afford a flat. Qian Yuan looked around for a long time before finally finding a clean spot on the sofa to sit down. I came to apologize for what happened during the day. I was in the wrong in some aspects. But alas, my hands were too fast. I was already gnawing on the king crab. How could I not accept his apology now? I said, mumbling with my mouth full. Well, I was wrong in some aspects too. Then tell me, where were you wrong? Reflect on it properly. Is he mentally ill or something? Qian Yuan said. Come back to work. I temporarily don't have the opportunity or time to find a better bodyguard. I said. Impossible. Zhao Mao could find you a whole platoon of ex-special forces as bodyguards in minutes. He said. I had some business entertainment after work today and encountered some women. If you were there, I probably wouldn't have needed to deal and interact with them. I said. Any other bodyguard could do the same. Qian Yuan stood up, his height giving me a slight sense of pressure. What exactly will it take for you to come back to work? I put down the king crab, didn't wipe my hands, stood up straight, and squared my shoulders. I just won't. His brows furrowed together, his cheeks flushed red, inexplicably reminding me of the delicate fragility of the legendary beauty Shishi holding her heart. Suddenly he reached out and touched the corner of my mouth. I quickly stepped back. What are you doing? He leaned closer, using his index finger to wipe the corner of my mouth. Didn't notice you had crab meat there. I felt rather embarrassed, associating it with my shameful secret dream. His fingertips' action felt overly ambiguous. I stammered, W. H. Dot. Where is it? He raised that finger. There was nothing on it. Tricked you. In an instant, his whole body pressed closer. The hand that had just been wiping my mouth naturally wrapped around the back of my head, pressing it forward. Lips met lips, teeth met teeth, soft and hard, clicking sounds. It hurt, making my scalp tingle. Was I being forced kissed? I'm being forced kissed. The feeling of a nimble tongue probing between lips and teeth was indescribably bizarre. Honestly, my mouth cramped up. My teeth bumped against his several times, hurting him enough to make him suck in cold breaths through his teeth. This was nothing like my smooth, effortless, steamy spring dream. Qian Yuan had to stop, pressing his thumb against his lip, his expression pained. Su Shengnan, do you even know how to kiss? I stared at him, dizzy, my crashed brain finally rebooting. This dog lured his way into my home, sexual harassment. I met him with a punch to the bridge of his nose, then a left straight punch, followed by a right straight punch. Then a right side kick, a complete combo of straight punches and a side kick, executed seamlessly, every move landing on him. Qian Yuan fell to the ground, twitched, tilted his head, and a trail of nosebleed flowed out. Z-City Municipal Hospital Emergency Department. Doctor, quite serious injuries, got in a fight. Me. Well, you, sort of. Doctor, TSK really went all out. Was the other person a trained fighter? You should tell your man to avoid provoking that kind of person in the future. If bones get broken next time, It won't be so easy to fix. I wiped my sweat. Thanks, doctor. I understand. I'll go get the medicine from downstairs first. After getting the medicine and returning to the ward, I saw the nurse finishing bandaging Kian Yuan's nose and leaving. I stood at the door, embarrassedly wishing I could build a rocket on the spot and fly to space, becoming the astronaut of my dreams. Kian Yuan's looks were sealed by a circle of white gauze, making him look like an idiot who brought it upon himself. Aren't you here to give me my medicine? What are you standing there for? So I went in. Kian Yuan said, My phone is ringing. It's in the inner pocket of my jacket. He took it and said to me, Listen carefully. Then he answered the call on speakerphone. The person on the other end sounded like a spider demon from Journey to the West, laughing maniacally at the Tang monk. The laughter could be described as cadenced, full of villainous aura, and demonstrated astonishing lung capacity. I glanced at the phone screen. The contact name was Muya. Kian Yuan, face dark, endured listening to the other person laugh for a full 2 minutes. After she finished laughing, she said, Moneybags Duodwo, I told you your brain doesn't work right. Finally take a fancy to a woman, and her brain is just as faulty. What's this? She can put you in the hospital already. What will happen if you get married in the future? And you racked your brains to get a bunch of us to act out a play with you. Even if you manage to chase down a woman like this, won't you just suffer? Are you asking for it or what? Silence fell in the hospital room. The female voice on the phone persevered. Moneybags duo. Moneybags duo. Kian Yuan, his face pale, said, I'm listening. Muya said, You promised me a 3 percentage point concession on this cooperation deal. Even if it didn't work out, you still have to keep your word. Kian Yuan glanced at me. Fine, Zhao Mao will contact you. I turned a chair around, sat down leaning on the backrest and asked, Don't you think you need to properly explain? Kian Yuan sighed and said very seriously, I knew I couldn't pursue a woman like you using conventional methods. Is his brain really not working properly? What kind of woman am I? Prompted by him, I finally remembered. Way back at the very beginning, when Princess He and Miss Liu were pursuing him most intensely, he did say he liked women who could eat and sleep well, who were strong and bold. But I thought he said that deliberately to use me as a cover. Thinking about it more carefully, it turns out that business trip was also intentional, bringing me along. No wonder it was so sudden, no prior notice at all, just telling me to come along. And damn, the tickets were already bought. Much later, Kian Yuan told me that was his most failed attempt at pursuing me. He spent a lot of effort preparing, borrowed his childhood friend Muya to act with him, even got himself drunk in the middle of the night, resorting to seducing me. I was horrified. You're saying you were drinking completely naked that time? Was that you seducing me? Kian Yuan affirmed it confidently, saying that with his peerless, stunning beauty and figure, even a nun should have pounced in theory. But I stubbornly didn't, which made him find me even more special. I was momentarily speechless. Really, aside from the occasional outburst of mysterious arrogance and CEO syndrome, Kian Yuan was quite decent in other aspects. After hearing all this from Kian Yuan, I could barely believe my ears. So, for these past few months, he had been openly and secretly trying to seduce me. I racked my brains trying to catch the forgotten, overlooked clues from the past. No wonder he personally went to pick up my cat and took me to his private villa. No wonder he took me on that business trip and damn, tried to seduce me. Thinking more carefully, it turned out Zhao Mao and the general manager had also been in on it, fooling me. I seized on a discrepancy and questioned him. What about Princess He? I clearly heard her say you were with Muya for 5 years. Kian Yuan said, She's still in school, too naive. It's better for her to learn how treacherous society can be. You even deceived her. I pointed at his nose. Wait, no. I remember you said you only liked me a little. Kian Yuan sighed. This part had to be blamed on Muya. Moneybags Duodwos. Journey to love, being so rough and farcical, was half due to the disastrous advice from his inept strategist, Muya. Muya told him that when chasing women, you can't let them have you completely figured out. You must be able to relax and tighten control, advance and retreat strategically. Kian Yuan, who had developed slight childhood shadows from being eagerly pursued by too many women of various age groups since childhood, learned a term from her: play hard to get, and deeply put it into practice. My emotions had just been on a roller coaster. Nearing the end, I finally realized that overbearing CEO falls for me plot was genuinely happening to me. Thinking back to that night he tried to seduce me, it hadn't been entirely without effect. At the very least, it lured me into having an unforgettable, vivid dream, didn't it? My throat felt a bit dry, and I kept swallowing. You're for real? What do you think? I eat a lot. I can afford it. I might be taller than you if I wear high heels ... Wear whatever you like. If you'd mind me being shorter, I'll wear height-increasing insoles. This CEO was so down to earth it was almost touching. And also ... I don't know how to act cute. When other women act cute, it costs money. When I try, it might cost lives. It's fine, my life is tough. Looking at the bandages on his head and the IV line in his arm, I sincerely doubted how tough this pampered young master's life really was. At most, it could withstand about 2 sets of straight punches. Kian Yuan and I got together. Strangely enough, when he wasn't around, I'd agonized and tied myself in knots over it, practically braiding my intestines. But when he was sitting there pathetically, bandaged up and immobile in the hospital bed, I suddenly saw the light. I even felt that all my previous worries had been unnecessary fretting. He was the only person who'd ever inspired that kind of dream in me. It wasn't just me choosing him. My body, my heart, my genes had chosen him too. When we returned to the company, we walked in holding hands. Unsurprisingly, it ignited an explosion. That very night, we made the headlines and top searches on major news and gossip sites. The gist was: shock. Young Master Kian has a new girlfriend. Physique comparable to a bodyguard. Sweetly holding hands, flaunting their love. Kian Yuan asked if I wanted him to have the news taken down. I said, why remove it? I am a bodyguard. There are 360 trades and everyone has its master. It's nothing to be ashamed of. The only pity was for the thousands of beauties in his secondary WeChat account, who all found themselves heartbroken overnight. On my first day back at work after leave, Zhao Mao gave me a thumbs up. I didn't know if he was praising me for bagging Kian Yuan, or Kian Yuan for bagging me. The general manager, holding his thermos cup, looked at me with great curiosity and said, Xiao Su, why are you still coming to work? If I don't work, what should I do? Zhao Mao chimed in from the side. You should get President Kian to buy you a villa. Just get facials and walk the dog every day. I laughed heartily. That's what a kept mistress does. I'm his girlfriend, not his little side piece. Everyone fell silent for a moment. Zhao Mao secretly gave me another thumbs up. After we got together, we thought we should treat Muya to a meal. Even an inept strategist is still a strategist. Without her, Kian Yuan might have come up with even more bizarre antics. But Muya wasn't very willing to come. We invited her 3 times before she agreed. When she arrived, she still looked utterly bewildered. I said, Miss Mu, I still have to thank you. If it weren't for you, Duodwo and I might not have gotten together, even after all that time. Muya gave a fake smile. But I was telling the truth, because I'm someone who loves money, and of course, also loves handsome men. If Kian Yuan had fancied me earlier, and thrown $1 million or 2 at me, I'd have followed him in a heartbeat. Feelings could be cultivated slowly. Who needed all that later farce? But he just had to be different. He spent the money anyway, and insisted on pursuing people his own way. Muya said, exactly. When I said back then that his eyesight was bad, and his brain didn't work right, I really wasn't insulting him. Su Shengnan, do you understand now? You two are just a match made in heaven. You're the woman who perfectly fits his aesthetic. For a moment, I didn't know if she was complimenting or insulting us. I turned my head abruptly and saw Kian Yuan smiling, propping his chin on his hand, staring at me. I was startled. Why are you staring at me? Kian Yuan wore a sweet head-over-heels expression and said tenderly, because what Muya said is right. Regarding Kian Yuan's slight gynophobia and his unique aesthetic, Madame Kian explained it to me like this. She said when Kian Yuan was little, he was an extremely pretty child, as beautiful as a doll. Back then, All the aunts and female relatives who came to the house particularly loved to pinch and tease him. When he was younger, it was okay. But as he grew up, started school, read more books, and hit puberty, he gradually became aware of the differences between men and women. Having uncles and aunts still pinch his cheeks and drag him into photos for souvenirs just didn't feel right anymore. Once when Kian Yuan was about to graduate from primary school, it was Mr. Kian's birthday. The whole family clan came. The aunts hadn't seen Kian Yuan for a long time. It was like starving people seeing a feast. They eagerly surrounded him, layer upon layer, so tightly you couldn't get a breeze through. Finally, they suggested, let Duodwo perform a talent. He's been learning painting for so long. He's so good. He should create a masterpiece on the spot for his father's birthday. The butler set up the easel and paints. Moneybags Duodwo almost cried. At the time, Muya's mother kept encouraging him, saying he could do it. Moneybags Duodwo had a lot of pride. Of course he couldn't cry. He could only say he had no inspiration and couldn't paint, which left everyone very disappointed. Their sense of letdown palpable. Another time was also because of Moneybags Duodwo's good looks. In middle school, he caught the eye of a mixed-race little delinquent girl at his international school. He got cornered in an alley and couldn't get home. The little delinquent girl asked if he would be her boyfriend. Moneybags Duodwo said no. She threatened to scratch up his face. Moneybags Duodwo would rather die than yield, standing firm. Well, that was that. Middle school girls develop early. They were all tall and stout. They pushed Moneybags Duodwo to the ground and were just about to carry out the assault when the school's female security guard rushed out and swiftly chased away the delinquent girl gang. Moneybags Duodwo's delicacy was probably innate. Just from that push, he sprained his ankle. The tall, robust female security guard knelt before him, patted his back, comforted him gently, picked him up, and carried him to the hospital. Moneybags Duodwo, blinking tearful eyes, thought while lying on her broad back, in the future I must find a stable, reliable, strong and dependable woman to marry. Over a decade later, that woman took on a specific form. That was me, Su Shengnam. Kian Yuan interrupted our warm and harmonious tea party. His face really couldn't be any darker. He said, Mum, did those things really happen? You've told dozens of people dozens of times. Each version is different, and it gets more exaggerated and subjective every time. Madame Kian covered her mouth with a light laugh. Do I? Oh. Well, that's the general idea. The beginning of our relationship as a couple wasn't smooth at all. Apart from needing to avoid paparazzi and immunize ourselves against office gossip, the most important thing was that our living habits were vastly different. I like gazing happily at the money in my bank account. He likes spending lavishly on investments. I like watching soap operas and variety shows. He likes watching stocks and the property market. I like eating street stall spicy hot pot. He likes eating French foie gras at Hesonglu. In the beginning, during the honeymoon period, I enthusiastically went along, accompanying him to eat there many times. Later, news broke out from Hesonglu. There was a woman who could eat 5 plates of fried foie gras in one meal there. I felt like rolling my eyes when I heard. That stuff, 1 plate is just a mouthful. I only ate 5 plates because it's greasy. I'd find it unsatisfying even as a snack to pick my teeth with. I didn't like foie gras, but I'd never told Kian Yuan later. Every time he asked me out to eat, I'd find a night market beforehand and eat until half full before going. Until one time, his meeting ended early, and he came to pick me up ahead of schedule. When he called to ask where I was dumbfounded. Because I was sitting at a roadside stall in the alley opposite my place, eating spicy crayfish, accompanied by a jianbing guozi. I put down the crayfish shell. Don't come. I'll come find you myself, Kian Yuan said. I've already driven to your building. Oh, I see you. He was wearing his expensive bespoke work suit, his leather shoes so shiny a mosquito would slip. Uncle Liu, stir-frying the crayfish, forgot the shrimp in the wok, forgot the spatula in his hand, and stared intently as Kian Yuan walked all the way over. Kian Yuan pulled up a fluorescent green plastic stool and sat next to me. Weren't we supposed to go to Hesonglu for dinner? I said. You know I have a big appetite. I can't get full there. Qian Yuan wasn't pleased. How could you not get full? I always tell you to eat as much as you want. Thinking of those 5 plates of foie gras, I still felt greasy. I just have a coarse stomach. It needs coarse food to feel full. Qian Yuan's whole face was scrunched up in conflict. So, ... You've never been full once when eating with me? Basically ... Yes. Then why didn't you say so earlier? No wonder you've lost weight since we've been together. I defended myself. I haven't lost weight. I've just been cutting fat recently, for fitness. Qian Yuan then elegantly raised his left hand, and in the manner of summoning a waiter, nodded towards Uncle Liu and said, That ... crayfish. Another one. No, 2 plates, please. After reaching a consensus on food, our quality of life instantly improved by a level. Of course, we both wanted to take our other life to the next level too. But I was a woman who wasn't even good at kissing, hadn't really held a boy's hand much in school, and was particularly lacking in this area. I hesitated for a long time before telling Qian Yuan about my restless, stirring spring dream. Qian Yuan was actually delighted, preening. This proves my method back then was effective. Otherwise, why would you crave my body? I said it was impossible. How could anyone faced with me ... I gently swatted him. Will you just shut up already? My first time with Qian Yuan was half a year into our relationship. It was a fairly nice experience. As for why it took so long, it was mostly my issue. It took me a month to learn how to kiss without biting his tongue. Honestly, during that period, I felt numb from all the kissing. Moneybags Duardo was particularly fond of playing the teacher in this regard, always wanting kisses and hugs whenever possible. Though lifting me high was, of course, impossible. I could lift him, but him lifting me would definitely be risky. Later, he pestered me for a long time, saying he wanted to, that. I didn't agree. Every time he'd beat around the bush, and then suddenly demand a kiss, I'd sigh with genuine feeling. I had really provoked a genuine male seductress. However proper and gynophobic he was outside, that's how clingy and lovey-dovey and persistent he could be with me at home. Whenever we had a holiday at home and I stayed at his place, whether he was working or playing games, he was always within 5 meters of me, in a position where he could look up and see me. This habit of his was a bit like a cat's. Duardo was like that too. Sometimes he wouldn't let you pet him, but he'd silently move to lie within a 5-meter radius of you, glancing at you now and then. Being monitored by this big one and small one felt a bit strange. I'd always slip away to another spot, but within 10 minutes, the two of them would unconsciously drift back near me. A year into our relationship, we were separated for the first time. Qian Yuan was called away in the early hours of the morning, without even having time to notify me. After I stopped being his bodyguard, I left his company and went to work as an instructor at a security company. With my own savings plus the money I'd somewhat blurred the lines acquired from him, I managed to buy a small flat in Z City outright, living by myself. Qian Yuan knew I refused to move into his place. He'd even suggested many times that he move in with me. I shut him down with one sentence. I asked him, You move in with me? How many Chinese dishes can you cook? My place doesn't have the kitchenware for foreign cuisine. And can you do housework? I haven't bought a robot vacuum yet. Qian Yuan had nothing to say. He never brought it up again after that, only giving me a robot vacuum as a housewarming gift when I moved in. I praised Qian Yuan generously, because it was the most practical gift he'd given me in a year. This time, when we were separated, I wasn't with him when Madame Qian called from abroad. Perhaps because it was late at night, he didn't contact me either, and just flew over quietly by himself. When I woke up in the morning, he was already on the other side of the globe wishing me good morning. I asked him. He said it was a business trip, very urgent, and he'd be back in a week at most. I told him to be careful, then went to work as usual, yelled at 2 block-headed new recruits, clocked out on time, drove to Qian Yuan's private villa, and only then, standing at the door, did I belatedly remember. He said he was on a business trip. Feeling a bit empty inside, I thought of Princess He. This young lady had called me the moment she saw the gossip news about Qian Yuan and me, cursing me out, calling me shameless, a scheming bitch, so angry she was gasping for breath. When I took the call, Qian Yuan was right next to me. Even without speakerphone, the fury in her voice was terrifying. For a full 10 minutes, I couldn't get a word in edgewise, getting thoroughly cursed out. Qian Yuan couldn't stand it anymore, snatched the phone, and said to her, "Let's meet up and talk this through." We did meet, but the development was quite unusual. Qian Yuan said, "Stop cursing Nannan." I pursued her. "It's all my fault. She's a bit obtuse, simple-minded. She didn't know anything." Honestly, such a classic, overbearing CEO protects his beloved quote. Saying that was just asking for all the hate, wasn't it? What was he thinking? Sure enough, Princess, he glared at him fiercely, gritted her teeth and said, "You dogman, what the hell do you know? Get lost. This is between us women. Don't you dare interrupt." For the next hour or so, Qian Yuan indeed failed to get a single word in. Princess, he charged up to me aggressively, pointed at my nose and said, "I fucking considered you a friend. And you betray me like this? I told you so much, and you weren't the least bit open with me. If I hadn't seen the news, were you going to keep hiding it from me? Sure enough, the things women care about are different." I was a bit stunned, carefully moving her nail, which was covered in glittering gems, aside. I know you liked Qian Yuan, but this thing was really a bit of a surprise. Princess, he glared at me with the frustration of wishing iron could turn into steel. Is that the man's problem? The point is you weren't up front. If you liked Qian Yuan, you should have just said so. I'd have yielded him to you. What kind of woman schemes behind people's backs? Qian Yuan coughed, raised his hand to indicate. The one scheming behind people's backs, should be me. Princess, he turned to stare at him with utter disbelief, asking from the bottom of her heart, "Are you sick?" After that, Princess, he and I inexplicably made up. After all, she had pursued Qian Yuan, but he had never given her positive feedback and had actively avoided her. Princess, he got angry once, was properly coaxed for a few days, and decided to find a younger, rich, handsome guy to chase for fun. Princess, he always said people like us couldn't really play with those cultured types. She didn't have high hopes for Qian Yuan and me, saying we probably wouldn't last 6 months. But Qian Yuan and I steadily made it through a full year and 2 months. I arranged to have drinks with Princess He. She was quick, arriving at the bar in just 10 minutes. The first thing she said as she sat down was, "Did you break up with Qian Yuan?" I said no. Given that she had already gone through several little fresh meat boyfriends, it was hard not to suspect she still had designs on our moneybags du Wantwo. Princess, he chatted and joked with me for a while, before suddenly turning serious. "No jokes, for real. Old Master Qian's condition has relapsed. Looking at you, you're probably the Qian family's future daughter-in-law by now, right? Why didn't Qian Yuan take you with him to see him?" I took a sip of my drink, taking a long time to swallow. Du Wantwo said he was on a business trip. Old Master Qian's health was very poor, his condition always relapsing. He had been convalescing abroad, especially since Qian Yuan returned to China, rarely making appearances. So that part, Princess, he told me back then was actually true. And it was the one part one most wished was false. I finished the remaining half of my drink, said goodbye to Princess He, went home, and called Qian Yuan. I demanded to know why he hadn't told me. He said his father had been in and out of the hospital for years, had received multiple critical condition notices before, but was always resuscitated at any cost. In the past year, it seemed to be improving, so no one was mentally prepared for the sudden deterioration. He planned to go handle things first, stay with his dad, and tell me when the time was right. I listened to his hoarse voice, trying hard to sound cheerful but unable to hide the exhaustion. "Moneybags du Wantwo, don't lie to me. I'm taking annual leave to come be with you." When I arrived, Qian Yuan hadn't slept for a day and a night. Madame Qian took me up to the ICU waiting area and whispered to me, "Nannan, please persuade du Wantwo. The doctors and I are here watching. Get him to go sleep for a while." I walked into the family room. A glass panel separated father and son. One lay there, wearing an oxygen mask. One sat there, resting his chin on his hand. I walked over, gently hugged him from behind, and rested my chin on his head. "Du Wantwo, I'm here." Qian Yuan started awake, opening his eyes drowsily. "You haven't eaten yet, right? I'll call someone to bring some Chinese food up." I shook my head, kneading his stiff shoulders. I'm not hungry. Auntie asked you to go sleep for a bit. We'll keep watch here. He shrugged and let out a pained chuckle. Your hands are so strong. Be gentler. I smacked his forehead annoyedly and pushed him out. Fortunately, Mr. Kian ultimately pulled through this crisis. The doctor said he could try getting out of bed for rehab in another half-month. Kian Yuan proposed to me at his father's bedside. The doctors were all there. The foreigners cheered enthusiastically. Typical American extravagance. Kian Yuan went down on one knee. He said, Nannan, we should have gotten engaged first, but I can't wait. When you flew here to find me, I decided. If Dad pulled through safely this time, I would propose to you. In a daze, he slipped the ring onto my finger. The plain white hospital room was as joyful as Chinese New Year. Later, when I came to my senses, I scolded him for being a cunning businessman, asking if he just wanted to tie me to his side, to be his lifelong free bodyguard. He said yes. In this lifetime, I could only be his personal bodyguard.